Hey everybody, this is Brent, Central Arkansas. I am sweating and a-fretting. We have an Alaska cruise coming up for our 20th anniversary, and we depart in 6 days. And I'm gonna turn the camera around and explain. I've got to take the lazy garden, which is almost completely empty except for some melons, and plant them here with my tomato transplants, my second wave of parthenocarpic tomatoes. What you're looking at here is my mix that I'm going to top up the containers with, and that is one of these buckets of peat, half a bucket of aged rice hulls, and half a bucket of perlite. And I found that a majority of peat in the mix does much better at not drying out on the top. So I learned that this year. So this has got more peat percentage in it, 50% peat. And what I'm going to do is just take these tomatoes and plant them right in the same containers of all the tomatoes I've removed. And I'm not even going to take the stems and roots out of the other ones. From this point out, I am no longer trying to get as many parthenocarpic varieties as I can. What I'm now trying to do is focus on 3 primary parthenocarpic varieties and possibly a dwarf. And those 3 varieties are Brandy Bear, Thunder Bear, and Roma Bear. And those are 2 slicers, one with improved disease resistance and a paste tomato. So those are the 3 primary with a dwarf backup. And so my focus is going to be improving, getting the best parthenocarpic, consistent parthenocarpic examples, along with increased disease resistance, plant structure, and taste. And I think I have a great beginning with these tomatoes you see right here. All right, we leave on Saturday, and today is Monday. And I've got these 3 rows here completely empty. And my plan is to start on this row here. And we're gonna have about 25 Brandy Bear, which I will call the next generation, even though Brandy Bear is really more or less open pollinated. I just carried this out, so I'm a little out of breath here, but yeah, Brandy Bear is at, I think, F7, filial 7 or generation 7. It may be at generation 8. At one point recently, I had to go back and capture another previous generation seed, so I'm not exactly sure where it's at, but it's pretty darn close. And I'm thinking that this generation is F8C coming from F7 plants. A lot of jargon, but basically to mean Brandy Bear is open pollinated. And then over here, we're going to plant Thunder Bear, and then on this row over here, plant about 25 of those. And over here, Roma Bear, which is a paste tomato, hence Roma. And that one's going to have about 25. Now there's 40 pots in each row. I'm going to finish off the rows that are left over on this particular grow with Rose Cherry Bear, excuse me. Rose Cherry Bear is a parthenocarpic, nice, large, sweet cherry tomato that's highly disease resistant, and I bred it to a cultivar that I got from Germany that is very disease resistant and was open pollinated. So Rose Bear is also in the selection stage. I'd say she's probably, let me think for a minute. It was F2. The seed that I'm planting, or the plants that are actually in this right here on this side, that is F3. Yeah, F3. So it's going to be about 75% close to being open pollinated. I should get out of, I think, probably 15 or 20 plants, I should get a definite good example to carry forward. And that'll be on this row behind me along with Brandy Bear. And in this row here, I'll have Succeed. And then on this row over here, which is a cultivar of mine, And this one over here will be a dark cherry bear. And I'm not sure if I can get a parthenocarpic variety from that one or not, but we're gonna see, because I'd like to have a dark cherry and a red cherry. Anyway, that's the plan for today. I'll carry down here, we'll start at that end down there, and we'll plant some of these real simple. So we'll get a planting in containers, planting tomatoes in containers extra in this lazy garden update. Just so you can see how I operate, I'm barefooted. I like walking around barefooted. I'm not presentable for the camera. I don't have a hat on. A lot of times I don't even have a shirt on. And so you definitely don't want to see any of that. But I'm out here. I like being in contact with nature. But at the same time, I don't like having these dirt underneath my nails that I can't get out. I don't know what it is about that. I don't mind having dirty feet. I just don't like the nails underneath my nails. And I do have those little nylon brush scrubber thing that helps get underneath the nails. But anyway, when I'm doing this, when I'm actually filtering in the dirt itself with any depth, I do wear these gloves, and these are pretty good gloves. Anyway, I've got one 5-gallon barrel, a bucket rather, of the mix I just talked about. You'll see over there in this container, there's a fresh tomato stem cut. I cut that today. I think I cut that one today too. And this one was a while back. You can tell because the stem is starting to deteriorate, and the container has been empty for a little while because it's starting to grow stuff. So this is what I'll do. I'll remove the debris first. I'm just kind of holding the camera while I'm doing this. Let me set the camera up. I'll bring you right back. Before I get the camera set up on the container, I'm going to bring you real close here. Just kind of manipulated the camera. I've got a fork, because this is one of those 72 cell things, inserts that go inside here. I normally like doing it in 32 cell, but I have so many to do and so little time for the second generation. But what I do is I take the fork and I just pull out the plug just like that. I have used a butter knife in the past to do it, but doing it with a fork really is fantastic. It's real easy to do, and the plug comes out really quickly. So that's what I do each time I put the plant itself in the container. So if you're looking here, you can see this is tubing. This is 18-inch spaced drip tubing, and I think it's a gallon per minute or a gallon per hour. I can't remember, but if you go into my Amazon store, link in the description, you'll get to see exactly what I use here. Now what I've been doing is, let me get my cutters here, is I'm making sure that the flow is directed better at the immature plant that I'm about to plant. And these, I had used these, let me see, where's that hole? It's kind of hard to turn from this side. If you look here, hopefully you can see that little hole. That's where it drips from. And depending on where this is, the flow could ride down and end up dripping outside the pot, or the other direction, depending on the gravity and where this pipe is in the gravity scheme. And plus, on top of that, when it gets hot, it loosens, and then when it gets cold or the evening, it tightens up a little bit. So to get around that, I use small zip ties on either side of the hole, and if it went this way, it would direct down. If it went this way, it would direct around. But as you saw when I clipped those, the zip ties were small. And the problem with the small zip tie, especially when the plants haven't reached the trellis yet, the cattle panel trellis, is that sometimes it would hit a leaf that is developing and would roll off the leaf outside of the container. And so I wanted a way to better secure this, because those little bitty zip ties were popping off in the heat, to better secure this and direct the flow further down. And my solution I came up with was a longer zip tie. Now what I do with the zip tie is I'll take it on the hole and I will put it where the head of the zip tie, the left part of the head of that zip tie, is right underneath the hole. That way it has to hit this, and then it begins a trail, and you can see how long it is now. And from that, I know that the water is going to hit and go down all the way to here unless a leaf rubs up against it, and I'll just keep an eye out for that. And it'll drop real close to the container itself and directly over where I want to plant. So that's the first step, is to orient this new zip tie over the hole, and it'll create a steady stream that comes down, and then plant the new transplant directly underneath it or pretty darn close. Because sometimes in the past I'd had it dripping over here, way over on the side, and a new plant is over here, say for example. Let me make sure you're in the camera. A new plant is over here, for example, and it'll drip to here, but the plant's way over here, and it could dry out. Fortunately, it hasn't happened too much, but I just want to be a little better about it, and so that's what I'm going to do. Now I'm going to go ahead and do this, turn this off, so I'm not wasting your time. All right, let me move my mix over here closer. Now this is that little transplant I showed you I pulled up with the fork. And so I'm going to just kind of get right here. I'm going to make a little hole with 2 fingers about this. Here, see how it fits down in there? I'm going to get a little bit deeper. I want it to get, if I can get it, close to about halfway into the container. It doesn't need to be all the way to the bottom. And so I'll put it, that's a little bit too low. You just see how I planted it, right? Just use my fingers, it goes right in. And then I'm just going to take and put this around it like that. Now that this is done in the old substrate or the old mix, I'm going to take my hand full of this new mix, and what I didn't tell you that I'm telling you now is this has gypsum and lime to help with blossom end rot. I had a little bit of that this year with a couple varieties. I'm trying to breed varieties that don't succumb to that, but why put myself through that, right? I want to evaluate the fruit, and there essentially is a newly planted transplant with a little bit new mix. And also put, I didn't tell you this either, look at that, drip just started, so I can make sure the drip is just right. But anyway, what I didn't tell you is I also put a little bit of water soluble in here too, to make sure the plants have a good start, because we're going to be gone. Okay, you see that? You can't see it dripping anymore, but let me see if it shows it here now that okay, the sun's coming in. I'm not sure if you can see that. See how it's dripping? I'm gonna bring you in closer and I'll show you. If you look up here, well, you can't see it, but you can see it over on this one, that it is dripping. It doesn't look like it's dripping here because it's following that zip tie all the way down right next to that plant, just exactly where I want it. And because I used a 50% peat, it's going to stay nice and moist yet well drained, and that's exactly what I want. That's the first one done. I wanted to show you this too. If the zip tie is hard to get a flow that goes where the tomato plant is, I can direct it using one of these. This is a 1/4-inch tubing stake. You just stick it in there, and this is 1/4-inch drip tubing, and all I do is just plug the end of the zip tie into it. It comes through, and you can see here, I think you can see it dripping, and so I just secure the tubing to the little stake, and I can direct it wherever I want. So even if the hole up here is a long ways away from where it needs to be, like say it's over here, I can just direct it towards the plant using the tubing and the stake. First row done. I always like this time of year, not this time of year, but this time of growth, the promise of what may be. It's exciting. Now we're on the second row here. I've got my tomatoes and all the other stuff to start the second row. Hey everybody, I have just gotten back from my cruise trip to Alaska. Had a fantastic time, me and the wife, 20th anniversary. Great trip. I'm going to show you what the tomatoes look like, and then we're going to talk about the next step for the lazy garden right now being mid-August. Let me turn the camera around, we'll get started. You look down here, you can see the tomatoes are starting to get some size on them. I'm just going to kind of give a wide view, walk down. Looking nice and healthy. I had them on automatic watering while I was gone, and I did lose a couple, but not bad overall, and they're looking nice. So those over there are wispy because that's Roma Bear. They're a paste tomato, and paste tomatoes, the lines I use especially, have a wispy type foliage. So it does have disease resistance, and they do improve, the foliage does improve and get hardier looking as they mature. So this is my bag of tricks for what I'm doing today, and it's actually pretty simple. I've already cleared out a lot of the previous grows because I'm done with them, and I'm going to replant them. And if we take a look here in this little box here, it's got the labels. I've got various kinds of seed in here, including another grow of the 2 smallest seeded larger watermelons, the next generation of my cantaloupe cream, and some others. Golden Fire, butternut's one of those. That's a breeding project, but anyway, yeah, I've got a lot of that stuff here. I've got the zip ties to do the drip fittings for those, and then I've got the mix here. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to toss the seed on top of these existing pots, and then just lay it out, and then I'll put some of this right on top of that and tap it down lightly, and that's all there is to it. Should be able to finish all of these in about I don't know, 30 minutes to an hour. All right, let's plant some watermelon. I've got both kinds of watermelon. The lighter color one was a heavier watermelon, teensy bit bigger seed, and you can see the dark seed here was the one from last year that was the biggest that I did a review on, that had good eating quality without worrying about the seed. So I'm going to plant both, and hopefully they can cross and, you know, get something good out of it. So I'm going to plant every other one light and every other one dark, so we'll alternate so they can pollinate better. So planting is easy. I've got my drip zip there. Drip zip. Did I just come up with something new, a new name? So I just take and just make a little area here, and we'll start with the light, and I'm going to put 4 seed in here for good measure, and then I'm going to take the mix that I made over here, which is all peat, because the majority of the mix in here is aged rice hulls. This is all peat and perlite, so that's all I did for that, and it's just that easy. I'll go to the next one, make a hole. We're going to put the dark one in now. We'll do 4 of the dark. You can't see the dark against these rice holes, but you can see here the rice holes are evident in this one. Let me get my mix over here. And peat is a little bit more acidic, and the aged rice hull is more neutral to more alkaline, so the peat gives it a little better chance at germination, and then the fertilizer will also help with that, the liquid fertilizer. All right, we'll do another light for a third one, light colored seed that is, and then that'll be it for the watermelon. I'll show you a squash as well. So now when this drips, the other thing really good about peat is that when it hits this, what it'll do is it'll disperse. It'll wick to everything peat. It doesn't wick as well with the aged rice hulls, but it does wick really well with the peat. So it'll keep it evenly, an even amount of moisture for good germination. The process is the same for the squash. Now this is Feroce Delicate, the second generation. I've already got some plants growing in the raised bed garden, and I'll do a raised bed update after this one and show you what they look like. But I need to grow out more because I'm not quite where I want to be to save the third generation. So I'll just plant 2 of these in each one of these pots. I've got, on this row, I've got 4 left over after the tomatoes that are over here, and I've got 5 over there, so a total of 9 10-gallon grow bags for this cultivar. So I'll just put 2 here, and I will keep the strongest growing of the 2 for 1 plant in each container. Now the watermelons and the melons, I will keep 3 or 4, and I will try to grow them to single stem so I get 1 fruit on each plant, and that should be easily doable. Showed planting all that. Now I want to wrap up the video, and at first I wanted to wait until the new seeds pop back up and show you that, but that could take up to a week, and then it'll be the 3rd week of August. And what I'll do is I'll just show you what happens in the next update, which will be about a month from now, and everything should be, the tomatoes should be nice and tall and fruiting by then, and these seeds should be up and going by then, hopefully, if we have a good month. And so I'm going to say goodbye to everybody for this video. If you like the video, please share the video. Helps me get the channel to growing and growing. If you don't mind, please hit the like button and subscribe button. Leave a comment. I love talking to you guys, and we'll see you in the next video.
How long do we gotta stay?